When I saw what Grinding Gear Games were doing with Path of Exile 2, I got so frustrated I stormed to my phone and made an angry phone call. What's this? Have you seen what Path of Exile has become? Tell me, what were you thinking? What was on your mind? What you thought of this?
This is Blizzard Entertainment.
Yeah, I know. Have you seen how cool Path of Exile 2 looks? Okay, bye-bye. Initially, when I saw people raving about it, I thought, guys, come on. We've been hurt before. We've been promised all manner of goodies in the past, way more times than Jill's inventory size in Resident Evil 1. I'll believe it when I see it, okay, buddy? Okay, GG, thanks, FF15. And then I saw the next gameplay trailer. And the next one. And the opening cutscene. And I thought to myself, wow! And with every new scene, I was singing to myself,
What's this? What's this? The party's gonna wipe. What's this? Inferno Sorcerer's Hive. What's this? Is that a currency? The Count is so cool, I bet that he's the villain. What's this? What's this? What's this? There's something very wrong. What's this? But I love this song. What's this? I hope the second map is desert once again, since Mario 3 and Luke Delaney and Narwhal First haunts my dreams. What's this?
That was interesting, my liege. How about you go back to the review?
Be silent. Our master just rolled a critical failure in his charisma performance role. Let him be.
yes, let him be. This is hilarious. Okay, I see how it is. Let it all out. Okay. I'm just trying to do something. Thanks for the vote of confidence, guys. You're welcome. Now, I'm gonna segment this video into 3 sections. First, looking at the structure, mechanics, and stats while paying homage to multiple ARPGs. Second, do a quick investigation of the story, atmosphere, and lore, paying homage to Diablos. And then, looking at a quick sample of the endgame. Also, be sure to stick around for the end credit song at the last section. That silly montage is dedicated to all of us ARPG fans. I love us all. First, structure, mechanics, stats. In Poe, we got the tried and tested Diablo 1 isometric ARPG structure. This has been hammered and tempered after decades of experimentation with similar games like Last Epoch, Titan Quest, Grim Dawn, and of course, the multiple Diablo games. Diablo 1 was released in 1997, created by the legendary David Brevik, originally part of Condor Games, which became Blizzard North. Imagine that in 2 years from now, it will actually be 30 years since that fateful game was released. A game that created a new genre for people who enjoy math, steel, and rituals disguised as video games. In the decades that followed, we went from leveling up a single attribute to leveling up multiple attributes and skills, to multi-classing, to having a stash in the size of Fallout Vault 101, to sharing items between your characters, to sharing skills between your characters in the form of Final Fantasy materia, and having a character skill size that looks like multiple clusters of constellations rather than a simple skill tree. Right now, Path of Exile 2 is the culmination of multiple rounds of evolution and the epitome of big boss skill trees. And contrary to non-believers, the skill tree is not really that confusing at all if you spend a couple of seconds to read what each skill point in front of you is offering you and you have a target you want to spend them towards. Another big draw and highlight of these games is the number, type, and customizability of the classes, some of which has been so engraved into our minds since the grandfather Diablo 2 that we all sort of know what to expect. Maintaining class balance whilst upholding class variety in each title is a big selling point in this genre. These classes have to be recognizable and similar to what players already know and love, but still give them a slight 5 to 10% innovation and differentiation that makes them fresh and unique to play. For example, the big beef here can dual-wield massive 200 weapons just as you know and love in Diablo, with a weapon size complex, rampaging slower but more methodically, but can also throw out totems like a torrent having an angry yard sale.
Now there you go,
The Witch in Path of Exile is the necromancer of Diablo 2. He was the original good guy with bad magic, with a truly epic and sinister entourage since A Boy in His Blood. But, you know, with less colorful jelly beans and more corpse explosions.
That's
That's a great name for a death metal band, by the way. Less colorful jelly beans. Then you see the druid and you're like, yeah, I know exactly what this guy's gonna do in almost every game. Shapeshift, lightning magic, support spells. A true neutral tree hugger that you really don't wanna mess with during full moon. The monk, well, I'm terrible at the monk. It requires too much micro in my hands, I don't know. But I've been told that he can airbend entire maps if done right. My favorite DPS here is a merc with an attitude and a cool shotgun crossbow, and a thirst for gems that actually rivals materia hoarding in Final Fantasy.
There's not a job out there I won't take, so long as the pay's good and a crossbow can solve it.
Yeah. You owe me a pizza.
Pizza time.
You're late. I'm not paying for those.
I need that money.
I'm paying for those.
Then you have a ranged DPS with an intimacy problem and a passion for kiting.
Stop. Just wait. Surely we can...
I'll have what she's having.
The ranger has more poison skills than the big pharma in the common side effects show. An artillery caster with a disintegration addiction and turning every tile into a rocket show. And the sorceress has escaped the trifecta of fire, ice and lightning and can now also manipulate time, which apparently I'm in the top 2% of all players that actually chose this ascendancy at the moment, because I think it's cool and unique and different than any other caster in the past, and yet most people still go for the ascendancy of pew pew, fire, boom, explosion.
Slow Mobius, hit me with the clock beam!
A fact which only further solidifies what I said earlier. People want only a small percentage of changes while still looking for something familiar.
Now you know what I seek, Marius. This is my brother.
The mechanics for each game in the genre is about 90% similar. You know what you're getting, how each class plays, and as much as we hate to admit it, it's usually the story that draws players in, but it's the process of stats gathering, farming, and the small details that set everything apart for each game. For example, Diablo 1 and 2 had massive innovation across every single aspect. 3+ different talent tree specializations, multiple map locations, several mini-quests to keep rewards fresh, teleportation, identifying magic items, rare and tiered items, and a whole lot more, back when Blizzard used to really cook.
Yeah, boy.
Titan Quest and Grim Dawn added multi-classing experimentation. Last Epoch added more customization, loot, and a time-traveling storyline that warps locations. And Path of Exile added an exorbitant amount of customization and loot,
I will do what I must.
with an endgame that seems unrecognizable to the actual game you've been playing for 20 hours. What really remains at the end of all things is a good story. But until that story is told, the path and the grind matters. And the atmosphere serves as a powerful framing device for that grind.
Let them soon be acquainted with it.
And a good atmosphere? We do have that in Path of Exile 2. Which brings me to the second section. Story, atmosphere, lore. While I believe that Blizzard has lost the spellbinding magic of its storytelling from Diablo 3 onwards,
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
it was the story that attracted me in Diablo 1 and 2. The dark, depressing atmosphere set on sinister, world-ending overtones in which you hunt down the primevals across the world was so appealing to a lot of kids. No matter how much we wanted to run around, shouting, "It's it's a me, a Mario, while stomping on turtles and eating red flowers that made us the Nintendo equivalent of the Human Torch. If you take a bird's eye view from above, the story, setting, atmosphere, and act progression in Path of Exile 2 is remarkably similar to Diablo 2. In both games, Act 1 has the medieval towering cathedrals and dungeons vibe. Act 2 is the mandatory Middle Eastern locations, cemented since Super Mario 3 on NES. And Act 3 is the jungles, swamps, and mysterious temples of forsaken rituals. In Diablo 2, you hunt down this enigmatic figure which is the possessed hero of the first Diablo game that is destined to plunge the world into terror. In Poe 2, you hunt down this enigmatic seed that will plunge the world into blood. In D2, the human vessel sheltering Diablo can easily be felled if he's tracked in time, similarly with the seed in Poe 2 before it reaches godlike proportions.
Mortal, it can still be contained.
In D2, we have the divine figure of Tyrael in shining white armor accompanying us. In Poe 2, we have a divine figure of Sin in brooding dark cloak.
I am a god. I am Sin.
Even the voice acting, the sense of urgency, the plan of action, and even guidance given to the player is extremely similar between those two.
Why are you here?
Fool! You have just ensured the doom of this world.
Go to the sunken city of Utsa.
Go to the Temple of Light in the eastern city of Karast.
It is our only hope.
Now run. Take the stone and run.
Even the mushroom quest from Diablo 1 makes an appearance in the apex of filth.
For a black mushroom.
This one smells weird.
I do not mind. Not everything has to be a groundbreaking innovation in every aspect. And personally, I do like it when games pay homage to their forefathers, even though sometimes you gotta take the torch by force.
And sometimes the hand of fate must be forced.
The memories would return. Memories of the monastery and the evil.
What is this?
What I personally see in Poe 2 is a portion of the tenebrous, apocalyptic atmosphere of the first Diablo games, drizzled with some Souls-like level of butchery and Lovecraftian horrors, combined with hidden truths about our real world, exaggerated to an amazing scale. In the first act, you witness the Western medieval depravity of the Mad Wolf Count Geonor, pulled by the change of that Final Fantasy-type lady as a whole kingdom falls to corruption. Citizens overworked to death, innocents brought to the gallows, old magic and forsaken rituals taking place in once hallowed forests. In the second act, you see the eastern nomads in the desert torturing/employing slaves while honoring their enemies in the most gruesome way imaginable.
I have given him an honorable death.
And in the third act, you see how far gold-thirsty conquistador-type allies venture into the Strand-type jungles while witnessing the inhumane depravity of the Val, resembling the culture of the ancient Aztecs. This act harbors an absurd level of cruelty, albeit in their Val minds, it is calculated and blessed butchery, which is cloaked behind an industrious culture and magnificent structures. There is no absolute right or wrong here, just degrees of acceptance for each side. Factions use barbaric levels of slavery, decadent rituals, and abuse of power.
There is power in brutality.
Even divine families are broken beyond repair, in the aftermath of their terrible choices, sending crushing waves of sorrow and despair across the lands. And these are the lands you have to tread. The world of Wraeclast has a magnificently sinister and mysterious lore, where both living and undead things are manipulated by menacing forces, while the gods themselves literally cry the primal elements, and you are quest to watch them perish before you. Now I know what you're thinking. Jimbo, dude, there's hardly any time left in this video to look at the end game. Now that's not true. In short, some people hate it because the end game is unrecognizable to what they were playing for dozens of hours. Other people love it because the end game dissolves into a mathematics simulation auto-battler, but I can definitely see the merits in both sides. Now, you see how viciously breathtaking is the combat and how visually stunning are the environments in Poe during the first hours? Okay, now that you reach the end game, none of that matters. Here's a representative combat gameplay of the Poe endgame.